Would you agree that normally books about fortune tellers are showing the mystical side as a romantic part of the whole experience? But what if there is a book that can show you the opposite? Somebody really skeptical watching all of those types, interacting with them, and getting to understand them a little bit better. Well, Tiziano Terzani, in a book A Fortune Teller Told Me, does exactly that, and he's doing a fantastic job. So what you're looking at right now is me painting a scene out of his experiences in Bangkok, where he visited a monk, a Buddhist monk, and this Buddhist monk was chain smoking like crazy and drinking lots of tea, I think, because what I found out from the book is that the Buddhist monks are not really allowed to eat after noon until the very next morning. It's like a daily exercise in their, I don't know, religious body to mind experiences or something. I don't know, which is really crazy. I mean, if you're familiar with Ramadan for Muslims, they are not allowed to eat from sunrise to sunset for a month, and it's a torture. They need to function. Well, I guess it's not really comparable because the Buddhists can drink their tea and they can smoke, apparently. But he also mentions that, for example, for normal monks in other areas, this is a taboo. But in Bangkok, people that are actually practicing the very same religion are taking it very, very differently. And they are allowed to smoke a lot and drink all of this tea until the very next day. So basically, they take the practice of kind of educating your body into a specific sequence of, I don't know, what is it, penance, the right word? I don't know what it means, but basically, you know, all of those mystic types of religions with all of the lore, they have rituals that are supposed to let your mind control your body, and there is all kind of way to do it. But they are very, very lenient about it in the Buddhist Thailand. And another thing that I learned from another book, it was Names Ram. The trilogy is also mentioning a lot about the Buddhism over there. I think he mentioned that it is less religious type of Buddhism when you talk about monks compared to general population, because the Buddhists are treating it like a way of life, but the others are treating it like a religion where you need to pray and follow rules and get fortunes and stuff like that. But what we get in this book is his commentary about this monk. And this monk, I think, is using cards to predict the future or something like that, or maybe something. I'm not really sure. But after a sequence of fortune tellers, and you should know about this book, I already spoke about it in a different video, he goes from fortune teller to fortune teller trying to compare notes, and specifically because someone made a prediction about him should not be boarding any flights in 1993, then, well, he just looks for some fortune teller that would repeat the same words. So basically, he lets them speak, lets them predict the future, and then he asks them questions about this specific year, hoping that they will match in their predictions. Spoiler, they're not. Oh, that's not what's the book all about. The book is about Asia in general. It's immersive, right? The small details about a fortune teller monk in the middle of Bangkok, not in the touristy areas, you know, when there is like a temple in a normal neighborhood where normal Thai people live, suddenly has all these kind of mystic powers where people flock in numbers to get their future read. That's the type of thing that you are getting from this book. And the other thing is how a skeptical person would look at it. And the skeptical person, he sees several things. For example, what people of Asia in 1993 were thinking. What was super duper mega important. And one of the things that he mentions and that he finds out is that the Chinese are everywhere. They are expanding. They are going beyond their borders. They're settling in any other country. And they are super mercantile. They are just they just cannot have enough money. They open all of the businesses, they own everything they can own, and they work like crazy people compared to the local population. Doesn't matter where you go. And even if you go to some established place, even there you'll find lots of Chinese people. And this is something that you might have guessed from having a Chinatown in every place. But what is the significance? The significance is that some touristy places that you go to Asia and it's like, oh, look at all the experiences, the mystical experiences of the Buddhist, of the yogas, of the local gods and lore and myth and everything. Well, they're curated by the Chinese. They basically own the businesses, the massage parlors, even if the locals are working there. And another thing about when you want to tie it to specifically the fortune teller aspect of it, you find out something completely different. All of the fortune tellers are telling the same story. They wish you, they talk about your kids, and they talk about your money. Wouldn't it be something that the 1993 Chinese people would be very interested about? Or in general, I mean, if you're a spiritual person living in Europe going to fortune tellers, they would not talk about your money specifically. They would talk about your growth, your spiritual healing, your happiness in the future, that kind of stuff, right? In Asia, they're like, oh, you're gonna have 2 kids, and the kids are gonna be marrying into really, really good matches, and your money is going to be like strong or protected. They look at you. I mean, they cannot tell everybody that they're gonna be millionaires, right? They're not stupid, but what they can do is calm you down. It's like say, well, if you're not the type that should be investing in risky endeavors. Just save your money. And for some people, that's enough a confirmation to follow. But there is nothing spiritual or mystical about it. That's the crazy part. They use all kinds of tricks. They use cards. They use, I guess it was coffee, tea, massages, touching your head, going into spiritual trances, all of it. And you get the same response, except for one place. There is kind of a lost paradise near Indonesia. I don't remember the exact name, but it was one of those chapters, the only chapters that actually wasn't going to predict lots of money and good marriages for the kids. And it's a lost paradise because they the civilization did not reach them in its full potential, because it's a very small island where the local population still keeps their own traditions and they're not really developed. Because they're not a central place, they're not a point of transit, there are no skyscrapers there, and no business interest exists on this island. So they got to keep what they were always about. And this is the only place where he gets predictions that are not really mercantile, but more it's about like, hey, your life is gonna be okay and you're gonna be a good person. You know, something that you would expect from some kind of a spiritual community leader. So that's what you get from that. I mean, the mystic, the romanticism of the East and their spirituality, it all boils down to very, very big practicalities. Of calming the people, like substituting the psychologists, because it's not a developed area. Not all people can go to a psychologist that went to university and studied for 2 degrees, right? That's reserved for people with specific monetary standing. But if you will go to the local fortune teller or to the local priest, I mean, everybody have their own kind of approach to this. But they serve the purpose of having the psychological guidance, let's put it this way. And it is shrouded in all kind of mysticism, but eventually that's where you go and confirm if your choices were right, and you can ask questions from a third party without being judged as a stupid person by people that know you. You're not you cannot always confide in those that surround you, especially when you have doubts about them specifically. So going to a third party and playing a game of spirits where it's kind of you but not you, but you can just giggle it away and say, stupid predictor, stupid fortune teller, let's switch to another one that tells me something else. Then you get the choice of not taking them seriously. And this is very, very valuable, I think. So this is what you get. I mean, and I can stand behind it much, much better than all of this spirituality thing where people like opening their chakras when it is actually serving a purpose, a real purpose in people's life. It is logical. Well, I enjoy it much, much better. I enjoy the insight. I enjoy to understand that we have something in common. So I hope you'll read this book, and I'll see you in the next one.